You ever feel like the sky's just waiting to remind you who's boss? Out here in Oklahoma, it's not just a feeling, it's a fact of life, like taxes or bad coffee. I learned that the hard way years ago, and it's why I was out in my backyard one spring morning, digging a hole that'd change everything. My name's Jack Harper, and I live in Willow Creek, a tidy little HOA neighborhood where every lawn's the same shade of green and every mailbox matches. I moved here 6 years ago, chasing something calm after the storm that took my world apart. Back in 2011, I was overseas, deployed, when an EF5 tornado ripped through my hometown. My wife, Sarah, was 8 months pregnant with our son. I was screaming into a phone that went dead, halfway across the world, helpless. By the time I got home, there was nothing left, just splinters and a quiet that clings to you like damp rot. I didn't talk about it much, still don't, but it's why I bought this corner lot with a big backyard. I needed space to build something I didn't have back then: a tornado shelter, a promise to never be caught unprepared again. I kept it low-key at first, just me, a shovel, and a county permit I'd fought tooth and nail for. The shelter was no joke. 3 feet underground, concrete walls, steel door, vents that could breathe through a hurricane. I sent the plans to the HOA's architectural committee, crossed every T, dotted every I, because I knew they'd nitpick. Sure enough, on day 2, she showed up: Lydia Bennett, HOA president, queen of clipped smiles and clipboards. You know the type. Thinks rules are oxygen and property values are God's own gospel. "What's this, Jack?" she said, picking her way through the dirt in her pristine sneakers, like she was stepping over a crime scene. "You building a bunker for the apocalypse?" "Tornado shelter," I grunted, not looking up from the rebar I was wrestling. "County's already signed off." She tilted her head, that fake concerned look people get when they're about to lecture you. "I don't recall this in the HOA newsletter. Our bylaws are clear: any structure has to be approved to maintain the community's aesthetic harmony. It's underground, Lydia. You won't see it when I'm done." "Even so," she said, scribbling something on her clipboard, "the board needs to review this. 6 to 8 weeks, minimum." I wiped sweat off my brow and met her eyes. "I'm not waiting for a storm to ask permission to survive." Her smile tightened, like she'd just bitten into a lemon. "We'll see about that, Mr. Harper." And that was the start of it: me versus Lydia, a battle I didn't want but couldn't avoid. The next day, a crisp HOA violation notice landed in my mailbox: unauthorized excavation, disruption of neighborhood cohesion, $50 daily fines. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because Sarah used to say I'd try to logic my way out of anything. So I tried. I sent Lydia copies of my permits, pointed out the HOA rule that allowed emergency shelters if they didn't stick up above ground. I even offered to walk her through the plans. Crickets. The fines kept coming, climbing to $200 a day by week's end. I kept building. I'm not a loud guy. I coach Little League, mow my lawn on Saturdays, drink my coffee black. But I've seen chaos, real chaos, the kind that turns your life to ash in 10 seconds flat. No way was I letting Lydia's power trip stop me from being ready. Every morning, I was out there, mixing concrete, setting steel. Every afternoon, Lydia would cruise by in her shiny Lexus SUV, snapping photos like she was auditioning for a detective show. Neighbors started whispering, some thought I was nuts. Others gave me quiet nods at the mailbox. My buddy Mike, who lives next door, brought me a beer one day while I was bolting the doorframe. "Lydia's telling everyone you're going to tank their home values," he said, shaking his head. "She's out for blood." "Then it's personal," I said, and went back to work. 3 weeks later, the shelter was done, ugly as sin, just a metal hatch in the grass, but solid as a tank. I thought that'd be the end of it. Nope. Lydia slapped me with a summons to an emergency HOA hearing to discuss my non-compliant structure. The letter came on fancy cardstock, like an invite to a wedding, but it was a declaration of war. I stood on my porch, holding it, feeling the air go still, that heavy Oklahoma quiet that means trouble's brewing. I didn't want to fight, but I wasn't backing down either. The hearing was a circus. The clubhouse was packed, neighbors crammed into folding chairs, clutching HOA newsletters like they were holy texts. Lydia sat at the front, flanked by her bored minions, all of them with that blank, corporate stare. She clicked her mic on, voice sharp as a razor. "We're here to address a serious violation of our community standards by Mr. Jack Harper." She flashed a drone shot of my backyard on a screen, my shelter's hatch circled in red like it was a drug bust. "This unapproved structure threatens our neighborhood's integrity." I stood, calm as I could, and laid my permits on the table. "This is a tornado shelter, 3 feet underground, fully permitted by the county. It's not a statue or a shed, it's built to save lives. So tell me, Lydia, when the last twister hit, where were you hiding?" The room went quiet. Her face twitched, but she recovered fast. "This isn't about safety, Jack. It's about respect for the process." "Respect?" I said, stepping closer. "I lost my wife and son to a storm because I wasn't there to protect them. You think I care about your process when the sky's coming down?" A neighbor, Mrs. Torres, stood up, her voice shaky but firm. "My niece was in that 2013 tornado. I'd take 100 of Jack's shelters over your pretty fences any day." Mike chimed in. "Maybe we should all be building these instead of finding the guy who did." The crowd murmured, some nodding, some shifting uncomfortably. Lydia tried to steer it back, but the room wasn't hers anymore. She ended the meeting early, face red, mic off. I thought I'd won a round, but Lydia wasn't done. That night, an email from the HOA's lawyers hit my inbox. Civil injunction, $8,800 in fines, demands to tear the shelter down. Then came the community newsletter, screaming about my dangerous bunker and potential for illegal activity. Illegal activity? What? Storing granola bars. I fired back an email to the board, laying out every permit, every code, and a warning. Keep slandering me, and I'm not afraid to lawyer up. Meanwhile, the sky was changing. You could feel ozone in the air, that green tint that screams trouble in Oklahoma. My weather radio started chirping, forecasting a storm front moving in, slow but mean. I checked the shelter generator, water, blankets, all ready. I wasn't scared, not anymore. I was ready. But Lydia? She was throwing a wine mixer at the clubhouse, tents flapping in the wind, like the weather was just a minor inconvenience. I got a text from Mike. "She's out there pouring Pinot while the alerts are going off. You seeing this?" I grabbed my keys and drove over. The scene was insane. Lydia laughing under a wobbly tent, neighbors sipping wine while the wind tugged at their hair. I marched up. "Lydia, get these people inside. There's rotation spotted 20 miles out." She waved me off, rolling her eyes. "It's just thunder, Jack. Don't scare everyone with your doomsday talk." "I'm quoting Noah, not a horoscope," I snapped. Just then, phones started blaring tornado warning, take shelter now. The crowd froze. Tablecloths whipped into the air. Tents rattled like they were about to fly. Lydia stood there, wine glass in hand, like she could will the storm away. I shouted, "My shelter's open, 1 mile down the road. Follow me." People started moving, families, kids, old folks, piling into cars. I led a convoy back to my place, the sky turning black behind us. We crammed into the shelter, 32 people, shoulder to shoulder, kids crying, dogs whining. I slammed the hatch shut as the wind roared like a freight train. The walls creaked, but they held. I passed out water, kept my voice steady. "We're good. This is what it's built for." Then we heard Ida scream, sharp and raw, cutting through the storm. Someone whispered, "Is that Lydia?" I pressed my ear to the hatch. Nothing but the howl of the tornado now, right above us. Something heavy slammed into the door, then scraped away. We waited, hearts pounding, for 8 endless minutes. When the all-clear came, I opened the hatch. The world outside was a wreck. Trees snapped, roofs gone, my fence in splinters. Down the street, Lydia's Lexus sat crumpled on a mailbox. One tire spinning like a ghost was still driving it. She wasn't in it. I jogged through the debris, hard in my throat, until I heard a faint cry. There she was, in a neighbor's yard, clinging to a metal pole, soaked and shaking, blood streaking her arm. Her eyes met mine, wide, broken. "Lydia, you're okay," I said, kneeling beside her. "I've got you." She didn't speak, just let me and Mike lift her, carry her back to the shelter. Inside, she sat in a corner, blanket around her shoulders, staring at nothing. Hours later, when someone asked if she'd been outside the whole time, she nodded, voice barely a whisper. "I didn't think it was real. I mocked you, Jack. I told people you were crazy." I looked at her, no anger left. "You thought you were right. The storm doesn't care." The news called it the Willow Creek miracle. 32 people safe in a shelter the HOA tried to shut down. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing reporters, neighbors, even FEMA wanting specs. Lydia resigned the next day, her control shattered like her SUV. The city passed a new ordinance, the Harper Standard, protecting private shelters. Neighbors started asking how to build their own, bringing coffee and questions to my porch. I'd show them the vents, the generator, and tell them why I built it, because once I didn't. Weeks later, I saw Lydia one last time, standing by my driveway. She looked smaller, quieter. "I'm moving," she said. "No HOA where I'm going." I smiled. "Good choice." She paused, then met my eyes. "Thank you, Jack, for saving me, even after everything." I nodded. Doors always open. Willow Creek's different now. We don't talk about bylaws anymore. We talk about backup plans, about looking out for each other. My shelter's still there, not a secret, but a promise. And every time I close that hatch, I think of Sarah, of the life we could have had, and the lives I can still protect. So what do you think when push comes to shove? Do you fight for control or for each other? Drop a comment, share your story. I'm listening.